Now to the foreign policy challenges facing President Trump. Here's correspondent Kristen Fisher with the anxiety over tariffs and now tonight fresh concerns over Iran. Good evening, Kristen.
Good evening, Shannon. Yeah, 1 hour ago, President Trump said on Twitter, the golden era of American energy is now underway. But his administration's own trade dispute with China has the potential to derail that very progress.
It's great to be here with the incredible men and women who are making America into the energy superpower of the world.
President Trump celebrating the start of production at a new liquefied natural gas or LNG export terminal in Louisiana.
In the past 2 years, we've expanded our LNG exports to the world by nearly 500%. 500%.
But that growth could slow if the Trump administration's trade dispute with China drags on. The retaliatory tariffs that China announced yesterday include a 10 to 25% increase on U.S. LNG. China is vowing to fight to the finish, but President Trump says it's just a little squabble.
The relationship I have with President Xi is extraordinary. It's really very good. We are, again, in a very, very strong position. If they want to make a deal, it could absolutely happen.
But there will be no deal for Iran.
We're now holding dangerous regimes accountable by denying them oil revenue to fund their corruption, oppression, and terror.
Today, Iranian-backed Houthi rebels claimed responsibility for using armed drones to attack a major oil pipeline in Saudi Arabia. This comes just 1 day after Saudi Arabia says 2 of its oil tankers had been sabotaged. Iran's foreign minister is calling it suspicious and suggesting that the U.S. might be behind it to raise tensions in the region.
We fundamentally do not seek a war with Iran. We're looking for the regime to simply stop conducting assassination campaigns throughout Europe.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made those remarks on a trip to Russia to meet with President Vladimir Putin and Russia's foreign minister.
I made clear to Foreign Minister Lavrov, as we've made clear for the past months, that interference in American elections is unacceptable. If the Russians were to engage in that in 2020, it would put our relationship in an even worse place than it has been.
No doubt there will be a lot to talk about when Secretary Pompeo debriefs President Trump in person tomorrow. Shannon.
All right, Kristen Fisher, thank you very much. Republicans are reportedly growing more and more nervous over the tariff tit for tat. So let's talk to a key Republican senator from Indiana. Mike Braun is joining us live. He sits on the Senate Agriculture Committee, and that's the key point of this conversation. Senator, great to have you with us tonight.
Good to be on, Shannon.
Okay, I want to read something from the Wall Street Journal editorial board about the headline under the cost of China tariffs. They say tariffs are taxes that raise the price of Chinese goods for U.S. consumers and producers. They also raise the price of domestic goods that compete with Chinese imports because U.S. producers tend to raise their prices with the competition. Plenty of opponents to the tariffs. You represented a lot of farmers who are going to be impacted. What's your take?
So when I look at the whole tariff thing, I have to go back many years. This hasn't been brewing just over the last year or two. It's been brewing over a long period of time where the Chinese have behaved unlike anybody else in the world arena. President Trump is taking them on because they do things that no one else does. They subsidize industries, dump the gluts. They do forced technology transfers. They steal proprietary property. Tariffs would be one of the mildest things. So this is a long-term battle that's been brewing for a long while. And thank goodness the president's, while we've got the capability to take them on, they export 4 times as much to us as we do to them. And I've been a believer in building my business over the years. If you want to survive in the midterm, let alone the long term, you're going to have to go through some pain in the short run. And I've been pleased with where we've gone with it. And sure, the Chinese are smart. They're aiming at President Trump's strongest group that backs him philosophically, farmers. And I can give you comments about what I really think is wrong with the farm economy, and it goes way beyond tariffs. When that gets solved, tariffs disappear, farmers have got still tons of challenges relating to chronic overproduction, an industry that's become increasingly concentrated with huge corporations that dictate their destiny, not to mention the weather and other things that they are challenged with every day, beyond their control.
Okay, so the Competitive Enterprise Institute says this: every one of Trump's tariff increases so far has been met with retaliation, not cooperation. The strategy does not work. China has said June 1st there's a new round of tariffs coming now on U.S. products. So where does the escalation stop? Does this get us any closer to a deal?
So currently the Chinese economy is a little over half our size. And again, they're exporting 4 times as much to us as we are to them. All of the spinning that we're relatively hurting, we are for any companies that put a lot of eggs in the Chinese basket. The best news I heard, a lot of companies are second thinking the idea of China as a place to do business. If they don't get their behavior in line, they're going to not only be tariffs that they have to contend with, people are not going to invest in their country until they start behaving like every other country does in the world trade arena. So I get asked all the time, when are the tariffs going to end? I think USMCA, which Mexico and Canada are our 2 biggest trading partners, I think that's going to get across the finish line. Agriculturally, we have more probably at stake with Canada and Mexico. China is in this for the long game. They've got the potential to be 2 to 3 times our size someday, and I can guarantee you they won't be listening to anyone then. Now's the time to do it. Thank goodness President Trump's had the nerve to do it.
Yeah.
Look at how all this evolved under the prior administration that dumped it on the doorstep for him to deal with it.
Yeah, and it's something he talked about long ago during the campaigns. China was always a focus of his. All right, Senator Braun, thank you very much. Great to have your perspective tonight.
Very welcome.